back to the Film Production Podcast. I'm Charlie, and today we're doing locations, and we have a few guests on, one special guest. So we'll start with our students from the University of Salford. If you want to do a quick, one-sentence introduction about yourself, and we'll start with Ed, I suppose, and then we'll go Katie, and then we'll introduce Lucas.
Hi, I'm Ed. I'm third year, obviously, studying film at Salford Uni.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm also third year studying film, and I love sound and production design.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I work as a location assistant and occasionally unit manager in primarily television and some films.
There you go. Those are all the people that we have on today. So I don't know where it is, because obviously you guys, the students, you guys feel free to interrupt me at any point if you've got questions that you really want to ask Lucas. And I don't know if you want to start off, Lucas, just by giving us sort of how you got into the industry, what your sort of path was and how you got into locations, basically, and just give us that general rundown.
Yeah, so I've been wanting to talk about this for flipping a very long time because it's a part of the industry that's not really talked about, and I know that's what your a few of your lecturers have said as well. It's one of those things that's just, you hear about the scouting and it's like, oh, location scouting, great, but there's so much more to it, and I'm hoping that in this podcast today I'll be able to kind of talk a little more about the sort of realism of locations, if you know what I mean. The logistics behind everything and the sort of the running of what locations basically do is, I hate to blow my own horn here, but they run the show. We're the ones that need to make sure sort of where the crew are going in the morning. But before each working day, we need to know that the crew are going to be going to the right place for a start, because the amount of times we'll put signs up and they'll go the wrong way, you know what I mean? So it's little details like that, but there's more to it. But I'll be getting into that. But there's a deep sort of there's a deep hole of things to discover within locations, and it's an exciting role, and it's an important role as well. I think that's something that I want to kind of point out the most, more than anything, really.
It's something that's sort of overlooked, especially at sort of student level, where we deal with things in the case of, oh, we have a flat, or we have a house, or we have university to film in, or the local park. That's sort of our extent of locations normally on minimal or no budget films. So I don't know if you want to give us a a quick little poke as to what we should really be looking for in locations, before we consider what does it actually have to be for the film? What is it we're looking for in a location as film producers or assistants or whoever the hell we are, locations managers,
So that depends on one thing, the size of your crew, because when I'm looking for a location, this is kind of basically the start of a production for me. Working in television, I usually get maybe 2 or 3 weeks as a location assistant to maybe getting on a little bit of the scouting. It's quite a small part. It's not a massive part as a location assistant. Even as a unit manager, it's not a big part. But basically, unit manager is the step up from location assistant. But what I would say, it depends on the size of your crew. So first thing I would look for if I've been sent off on a location is on a location scout or recce, the director is obviously after something. The director tells the location manager tells me and says, and basically usually already has a list of places to go to at this point. So location managers looked them online, found these places, and then he sends me to go down there and take some pictures of it, and usually liaise with some kind of a landowner or something. That's the big one, is you want to sort of make friends with people. So forget about what the location looks like and all the artistic, all that kind of stuff. Forget about that for a second. At this point, it's about making friends, because you want to get the cheapest price. You want to impress the line producer. That's the big one, because in locations, you work quite closely with the line producer and with production. And a lot of the time it's about just figuring out money, and money is a big part of locations, because you've got about 25% of budget a lot of the time can go into the locations itself, so that's the first one. Second thing, I guess, is just making sure, you take decent pictures, and it's about what your director wants, So as a director, if you want, I don't know, for example, if you want a big grassy hill with, I don't know, a rock at the top and a rock at the bottom, I'm sure there's places all over Manchester that have similar things like that. But it's finding the best one, taking pictures. You know how it is. And just kind of thinking that's like quite an artistic part of the locations work that I do. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot more to it, but yeah, that's what I'd say. And also, yeah, size, what I was saying at the start, the size of your crew. So if you want parking for your vehicles, you got to make sure there's a car park nearby, or maybe a stretch of road that you can like book out with the council, maybe, or you've got to think about all the logistics to go with it. You're going to need a unit base nearby. Again, depending on the size of your crew, if it's a big film TV unit, big crew, you're going to need a big unit base. So you're going to need a place to put that, and it's got to be at least 5 minutes down the road. It can't really be any further away than that, so it's easy to get to and from the location. But yeah, there's I can keep going on forever, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It's like such an interesting part of like film that, like we said, so overlooked. And I don't know if our students, Katie or Ed, I don't know if you guys have any fun, exciting stories about trying to find locations as students that you want to either, or if anything that Ed's just said, anything that Lucas has just said then that you want to throw in there, add on to, or yeah, whatever.
Definitely with the logistics side of it, for our we didn't get to do it because of COVID, but our last year, second year final film, we were doing a 16th, 17th century like a comedy drama kind of thing, and we had this location, or we had this area set out where we wanted to film it. It was the North York Moors. That was the look we were going for, but there's so many landowners, so many different areas and territories. You have to kind of figure out where you want, who owns the land, and without asking local knowledge, we wouldn't have been able to find that out. And we were having a conversation with a few different landowners, and even more things that we never considered before that came into play. So there was obviously they do shooting up there, so that we had to make sure that they weren't shooting or that there weren't birds nesting. We had to fill out so many forms about drones because there's a RAF base nearby and they consider it an aerial threat, and there's so much more goes into it than what I originally considered when going towards location scouts. But
can I just add it? I'll just add into that. Oh, sorry, that's a lot to do. I don't know how big your crew was on that, but there's a lot to think about. Usually on a bigger TV show, if you came in as a location assistant or a location manager one day, a lot of that stuff is passed on to production. So things like the drone that you might want to fire up in the air, that, I know my location manager would probably say that's a production problem. That if they want to use the drone, if they want to get in trouble for using the drone, then they can do that, But so there's a lot of interesting things that come up like that. But that's what I like. It's so diverse. You never know what's going to come up. Sorry for interrupting you there, Katie.
No, it's okay, don't worry. I've never really had to deal with booking locations. That's never really been my role. But I think Julia asked me on because me and a couple of friends have started a new business called Venue, which is about booking locations, and not just that, but venues in general. And it came about because my boyfriend was struggling to find somewhere to book for his 21st. Like, it's very annoying, not just from general customer looking for parties point of view, but also from a filmmaker's point of view. There's no massive library of locations, certainly in the UK, and that's what we're currently in the process of building up. So hopefully, it'll have different sort of tags on it, different description, a big description, and we just take we get our commission through the booking fee, but hopefully that will help ease the stress that is trying to find locations. But I was wondering, Lucas, from your point of view, if you would find something like that useful, or if if that would take jobs away. I don't know, because we've not thought about it much from that particular perspective.
Yeah, so we use I'll be honest with you, I was literally just trying to have a look online then, because we do have a locations, like a big long list of locations, because I remember giving it to a lady once where we were knocking on some doors around a residential area that we were going to be filming in, and she actually asked, because what we do is we send letters out saying we're going to be filming in this area or whatever, and she said, oh, is there any chance, film crew, is there any chance that you could film here, is there anything? And she was saying it partially as a joke, but I know that there was, because I gave her a link to a website, and we do have a long list of locations. But the thing is, I think for something like a lower budget project, like student project, it wouldn't be right for that, because usually they've worked with bigger productions before, these guys that are on these lists that we use, and they'll be expecting a big crew to turn up and pay them, $4,000 for the day, not a few, I don't know, however much it is. So
I think the site that we're designing, which hopefully will be an app one day, is, I mean, its main focus is venues in general and booking things in general. That's it, venue without an E as well, like venue. And I think that we're trying to, we basically want to open it up so anyone, if you have a house and you're okay with like a student or a film crew using your house as a location, or if you own a field, you can put it on venue, and you can put a description, you can put particular tags on it, what facilities it has available, and that would just make searching a lot easier, in my opinion anyway.
That is absolutely brilliant. Honestly, I'm kind of blown away by that. That's a really good idea, yeah, because I think the problem is now, what I've noticed is locations wise, for filming big TV and films and that, there's lists and whatever, and you can, when you're part of a production like that, you can go down the list, you can show direct stuff, but it's the smaller budget stuff that is like the difficult one, because you can't go, I can name a few locations like the Star and Garter, for instance, in Piccadilly in Manchester. That is a great location. I'm sure that you guys might have used it before. I don't know, but it's quite well known.
Might be using it for our final film. Spoiler alert. So,
I mean that's a great place, but in terms of costs, I mean, I don't know how much they charge it. I mean, if you get them on a good day, they might just let you do it for free. Who knows? But I mean, actually having an app, developing an app, and getting people involved, it's a great idea. I love that. That's really cool.
Well, I mean, we're currently obviously COVID, horrendous that it is, has given us an amazing opportunity and time, because people aren't currently booking. We've got time, and people are going to want to book as soon as this is all over, where they're going to want to throw parties and stuff. We've got time to build up our libraries, and we are looking for people to come and join us and to help us out and to be part of venue, and to and obviously people to book. So if you go to myvenue.co.uk, and that's venue without an E at the end, you can go and sign up there. You can go and put your location on, or you can follow it at any venue, and you can see updates. And I think honestly it will be so helpful, not just for the general public and trying to find where do you want to have your 21st birthday. That was Brad's original problem. That's why he came up with the idea. Where do you want to have your wedding? Anywhere. Where do you want to film your film? I really think that this website could, and the app could really just help relieve the stress.
So moving on from that, you actually mentioned something else in there, Katie, that I was thinking about. You said about COVID. Now, this is something I hadn't even considered for some reason. It just totally crossed my mind, lost it. Lucas, how has your job changed because of COVID? Like, what additional things do you now have to do, on top of everything else?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm on a job called Brassic at the moment for Sky One, and I'll tell you one thing. The start of that job, we started with it must have gone about 4.5 hours, 5-hour long meeting in this massive studio space. Usually we'd have a production meeting at the start of a job, but this was started off in this massive studio space. We're all, of course, equally spaced apart. And there's a lot more involved on this now. It is, I'll be honest with you, it's not easy, but we're doing well. It's, what we've basically got now is, obviously we've had to separate crew on set. So the production have figured out this way of kind of doing it, where we have like a pod system. So each department has their own pod that they're supposed to be staying in. So when we get to set, generally what we'll do is, obviously I'll turn up. I'm usually the one that turns up there first. Unit manager might be there before me, and we'll set up these pods ready for them. So we use easy ups, which are like little tents basically. So we throw up an easy up for each department, or so a lot of the time we'll give them their own easy up as well, so they can put it up themselves. And we try and we have our own little areas, and it works well. I don't want to slag it off or anything, because I'll be honest with you, I think the production on this show have done a really, really good job of actually dealing with the situation, and we're still getting the show made. We've had a few hiccups here and there with the cast. Not going to name any names, but it's we're doing it. We're getting somewhere. So it's it's different because we are all having to wear masks now, obviously, and social distance, but you can still make a TV show. So it just goes to show, really, it's still possible.
Yeah, it's a good thing it's still going on, I think. I think it's important that we can still continue this, and especially for us as film students, seeing that big productions like yourself and, whoever else is still making stuff. I'm sure everyone like ITV and BBC or whoever is still making stuff. It's good to see that is still, going on and happening. Yeah, so I'm glad to hear it, to be honest. It gives me hope for my own stuff.
I've done some extra work with Screen Management, which is an agency that's local within Media City, and I've been so impressed with the way that I went to do a show with Sky, and I've been so impressed with the way that they've dealt with COVID. I was supposed to go and do some extra work with Brad last week, but we arrived on set and they immediately cancelled the entire day because someone who wasn't even on set at the time had got COVID, and they just sent everyone home. They're so tiptoeing around it just to make sure everybody's safe. It's genuinely impressive.
It's funny you should say that, because I'm off work at the moment for a week. We were stood down last week because I have got to be careful what I say, because I don't know who's going to be listening to this. But yeah, we were stood down last week for COVID related reasons, and it's not, at least they're taking it seriously. They don't want the entire crew to come down with this thing. If one person gets it, one person is even rumored to get it, they're going to shut it down. Also, I mean, again, I've got to be careful what I say here, like finances wise and stuff, but I know they've put a lot of money into COVID as well on this show this year, and the amount of money they've put into the testing is the big one, because they're testing people every Monday and Thursday every week. One random person from sort of each department is getting tested each week, well, twice a week. So it's you feel safe. I'm sure you felt, well, I'm not sure as an extra, I'm not sure if you get tested. I know that they test some of the extras on Brassic. I don't know.
You can so certainly on the last time I was an extra, they had different groups. So they had extras who had been tested and obviously come back negative, and then extras who hadn't been tested, and they were kept completely separate, and we just had to wear masks all the time, obviously except for when the cameras are rolling, but we were separated out. So they've been asking, when they want extras, they've been asking people for within social bubbles. So do you live in a house together? Are you all willing to come on camera together? And so you are kept separate from the other extras if you haven't been tested.
Awesome. Good stuff. I love that. It's nice that obviously all this stuff is still continuing and people are obviously taking the precautions and stuff, and that we can do it. Okay, right, cool. I was wondering, Ed, actually, what area of production do you sort of work in? What's your sort of what's your role within? Because we sort of touched on it before a little bit, but we didn't really go, into detail with it.
For the past two big films we've done with uni, I've done a production design. So like set dressing, location scouting, everything that the directors tell me to do. But it's probably, because I come from a creative background, it's probably my favourite job in the film industry. Anything creative, anything that involves going out, doing like practical research and everything. For a film we did in second year, Oh no, it was first year. We did a First World War film in the middle of the woods, and we had the challenge of making sure we didn't go out to the Greater Manchester area. We went slightly out of the Greater Manchester area, but it was still far enough to be able to use. But with logistics there, we had all of our equipment. We had to make sure we were far enough away from anybody. We had a deactivated weapon, so I had to get my test, not test, I forgot what it's called. It's like a thing you can show people. You have to alert the local authorities. You have to make sure there's nobody in the area. And because of that, we had to find a place that was so far off the track that we weren't going to upset anybody. We weren't going to be causing any issues that didn't need to be there. And with that came, okay, we've got all of our crew here. We've got our cast here. We've got the equipment here. How do we get back and to and from somewhere to keep the actors warm, because it was a 2-day shoot? How do we make sure we've got breaks? How do we make sure we've got food coming to and from? And we ended up, 3 of us ended up sleeping in like gazebos in the middle of the woods, middle of winter, while everyone was back at home. But hands down, it's definitely been, even though it was hectic, it was hands down the best set I've probably been on, just for the whole experience of it. And that was the first time I really took location scouting into account, of being able to go out, think of a place, look into all the logistics, find out what I need to be doing while I'm actually doing it. It was like a testing ground for everything production, I think. And from what I've learned from that, I've carried over into future films I've been doing as well.
I saw that film as well, and it was really good. Like, I remember seeing it and thinking, can I swear on this? Am I allowed to swear on this podcast or not?
It might get bleeped. I'm bleeped frequently, so I've been good today, actually. So.
Well, I'm gonna swear so you can bleep it. I remember seeing the film and thinking, "You bastards," because it looked so good.
The cold paid off.
It honestly looked amazing, and I was thinking, "Oh, I hate you lot."
Well, where were you keeping your actor then? If you guys were sleeping in the gazebo in a field,
so we had the actor was really stuck into it, and if he wasn't as committed as he was, I don't think the film would have come off as it did. But when it came to the end of the day and we needed to get, because it was partial night shoot as well, so we only got like 4 or 5 hours in the warmth, having a little nap and whatnot. But it was in a forested area with plenty of like forestry tracks, so that the vehicles that are cutting down trees and whatnot can get about. And we had access to the keys to the gates to get people in and out and drive people back and forth. And luckily it wasn't too far away from my house, so I managed to organise for my parents to come and pick up any crew or actors that weren't needed when we were doing our breaks, or when people needed a break, to be able to be taken home and whatnot. But it was one of those films where it all changed last minute and we ended up finding a place. But I think the place that we found was perfectly suited for what we were doing. It had decent access, far enough away from people that we weren't causing a stir, causing any trouble. There was no worry of public. It worked out really well.
Go on, Lucas. I see you're going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say, mainstream like TV and stuff is exactly the same. Everything you're describing, it can be. There are some days where you think, what the heck is going on here? Like, there was one day where, going back to what I do on set, like my role as a location assistant, it can vary from one day I'm sitting around on standby waiting for someone to say, leave this, da, da, da. But then the next day it'll be really creative and exciting. So there was one day we were filming in Manchester in some shipment container yard near Space Studios. Got the name of the place now. It was a cool looking place. And the location manager that day, it was just me on set, and the location manager that day was off scouting something else, the director for for that same day. So it was a very last minute thing. I have no idea how this happened, but yeah, so he was scouting something to film later that day that the director had said, can we have this on, basically? And you don't say no to the director. The director wants something, yeah, find it. So he was off doing that. He sent me some pictures and he said, can you go and show Rob, the director at the time, can you go and show him these pictures? So I went up and, he was behind the monitor, showed him these pictures, and he said, it's not industrial. And I can't remember what the location was exactly. I think he wanted, so we were the shot that we were filming in this container yard. Our cast, again, I've got to be really careful what I say. I don't want to give anything away. But our cast had just run from a kind of wooded sort of area location into this container yard. Obviously, though, we'd filmed the run from the forest in like the hills somewhere in like Buxton or somewhere, I can't remember. And then the shot after that, we were then in the middle of Manchester. So we needed some kind of a crossover there. And, we were trying to find a place where we had a bit of greenery, but also a bit of industrial. So you're kind of crossing from the greenery into an industrial bit. And it's just one shot. That's all we needed, which is why it was why it was a last minute scout. Anyway, the director basically just said, Lucas, surely there's somewhere just around here. Do we have to drive out? Do we have to get the unit like all the way out? And I was like, well, I don't know, I'll have a look around. So that was a weird one. So I ended up just having a look around that, like just walking around that general area, managed to find a spot with a bit of greenery and a bit of brick wall and a bit of container unit. And it was a nice sort of linking shot, took a picture, went back to show the director, boom, he likes it. All of a sudden, I'm calling Danny, the location manager, like, So I found a location and it's right here next to where we're filming. And it's one of those things that even in, big mainstream TV, you can get, as an assistant, you can still get these opportunities. And that's a good day when things like that happen. And it happens often, it's a regular, you never know what's going to be thrown at you that day. So it's exciting.
Something I love about this industry is how chaotic it is at times. And you have to think on your feet. You have to improvise, adapt, overcome. Otherwise, it'll go to the dogs. But I think you did really well.
We had a first year film that was set in the Imperial War Museum opposite university, and it fell through, I think, 3 days before we were shooting, and within 3 days we managed to get a canal boat in London, go down there, restructure the script just a little bit, but it worked out. And I was just going to ask, have you ever had any experiences where a script or an actual the story of the film has had to change because of a location?
I'm trying to think. I've got I wouldn't say, in fact, yes, I do. I was on a show called The A Word for BBC a few years ago, and we're basically filming, a lot of that show was filmed in the Lake District. Well, I'm going to say, before I go any further, never film in the Lake District, especially during winter. It's horrendous. Anyway, so we basically had this scene where we had Chris Eccleston and a bunch of kids around this campfire, and it was supposed to be, so they're obviously camping. It was a night shot, and it was supposed to be this nice sort of cozy atmosphere, and it's supposed to be in the middle of summer. Anyway, it was chucking it down with rain. So they're sitting around this campfire, like toasting marshmallows, supposed to be all going, hey, having a great time. But obviously it looked ridiculous because it was chucking it down with rain. So yeah, on that occasion, we got an email come through with a revised script, and they changed a lot of the dialogue to basically just suit the atmosphere, because it wasn't a nice atmosphere. So obviously, yeah, they changed some of the dialogue, and they kind of, I can't remember like what the dialogue, you'll have to go back. It was series 3, I think, well, episode 2 wasn't it? But there was, they did kind of, it didn't change the story so much, but just that scene, it made more sense. So yeah, they do now and again, yeah.
So I was going to ask a question about like sort of, so you said how you went around the corner and you found like this area that was perfect. So you were like, oh damn, we could just do it here, do the shot here. What is the sort of legality and the what sort of things can you bend to allow yourself to use these sort of locations just on the fly, without having to like call up a million people and book it out and whatever,
Luckily, this little spot that I found was still within the grounds of this container yard that we'd already paid for and booked for that day. So that was a really lucky one, because I mean we could have we might well have saved thousands of pounds that day. I don't know, because I mean if we'd have taken the whole, because we've got a big unit on Brassic, it's probably the biggest unit I've ever worked with. You know, we've got multiple vehicles, massive sparks trucks and generators to lug about, and for us to just stay where we were, you know, it's great. So I mean, if usually though you've got to go through the process, you know. I mean, I don't know a lot about this, I'm not going to pretend I know about this, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not a location manager. But what I do know is that the location manager who I'm working with now, Danny Newton, you know, he I think he does a lot of this stuff is way in advance. You know, at the very start of a job, he's already got, you know, block 2 lined up, ready to go, you know, or at least I should hope so. Hopefully he's not listening to this. But yeah, so I don't think there's a lot of leeway unless you want to do what we have sometimes is planned location moves, where we'll be at a location for the day. It might be a country park somewhere, and you know we'll film in a certain space of that park for a while, and then we'll move over to another space in that park, and that we can do a location move, and that's just all part of the same location. But if you want to do a full-blown move where you go into somewhere on the other side of the city, then that's another kettle of fish, you know. And that's where the AD department comes into it as well, and they're figuring out, you know, how long things are going to take, whether we're going to get it all done in the day, and I'm sure you know all about that anyway.
Okay, cool. We have another one here which we're talking about, which is like, what tips would you maybe give to students that don't have like this mega budget, you know, the thousands of pounds to just throw at problems that, you know, arise? What sort of tips could you give to us, you know?
What I'd say is, I mean, that's a difficult it's not an easy question to answer that, because I mean, what I will say actually is, when I was at university before, well, actually I was still working in TV at the time, but I was doing it sort of like on and off, because obviously I was doing the degree. But I mean, I managed to get a film shot in Liverpool. You know, I don't know if you know, I went to Lincoln University, which yeah, I'm not going to say much about Lincoln, but it wasn't the best university in the world. And yeah, so I thought, you know what, let's get out, move out the box. I'm sure, as all you guys have thought, think out of the box and go and film in flipping Liverpool. Why not? Like, Liverpool's great, you know, it's picturesque. It's, and the pilot I was shooting was a truckers themed thing. So I was like, okay, Liverpool, you got the docks there, you got all the sites, you got the big bill. It's brilliant. So we went over there, shot there for 5 days, and we did that on about, I think the most expensive part of that was putting up our cast and crew in Airbnbs. Everything else, you know, we managed to get the locations. I think we had about like 7 or 8 different locations, or maybe even more than that, that we managed to find, and we got most of them for free. You know, we got the interior. In fact, we got an interior and an exterior of a pub in the middle of Liverpool, and we got a diner, which was really like quirky and weird. And yeah, it's just kind of creating sort of friendships with these people. It's more than sort of a working relationship. When you're trying to find a location, you want to make friends with them, because at the end of the day, you want to keep that cost down. And that's I think that's the best piece of advice I can take, is rather than sending, well, actually, this is another thing, rather than sending an email out to someone, say if you found a location, you know, and you found it online, you think that looks really cool, let's send them an email. Don't send them an email, just go there, turn up, say hello, introduce yourself, and just say, you know what, I'll be honest here, I'm on a low budget, we're a student production, but your place is bloody, sorry about the language, it's brilliant and it would fit so well. You know, bring them up, so then they want to get involved then, and you know, and I think that's the best way to keep the costs down. That's what I'd say anyway.
Nice, I like that. Show up, turn up to places and meet people and give them your smiling face, and that makes people like you. I mean,
right? That's literally how I got my job in this business. So I mean, there was the first job I worked on was about 3 years ago, called Free Reign, and it's a Netflix series. And I got that job because I basically was walking across the car park one day. I knew the production office was there, and you just get chatting, you get talking, and you got to be honest about it. I just said I've never never worked on a film set before. I've always wanted to come and have a look, see what it's like. Next thing you know, you got a bit of work experience. And if you're good, they'll keep you going, and then you create contacts. It's all about. I'd say, if I could do this, I'd just ditch emails entirely, because the amount of emails that I get where you get like CVs sent across and stuff, and yeah, you can look at them and you can scan through a CV, but it's not the same as seeing someone in person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the amount of people like
it's
we
repetitive.
Yeah. Well, we get marshals on, which are basically people that come and help with the lock-offs for members of the public and things like that. And I've had a few CVs come through for marshals, and they're good and whatever, but the people that we've actually ended up bringing on in the end usually are people that have sort of ended up showing their face somehow, even if it's just coming onto set one day or just approaching the crew and saying, hey, this looks cool, I do this, is there any possibility? And a lot of the time we'll say, yeah, we're not going to say, no, go away, you weirdo. It's one of them.
Yeah,
I think in a way it's kind of similar with student films. Like, certainly as if you're a first year, you kind of want to go and work on a third year's film. And if like a first year comes up to you and approaches you, is like, hey, I really want to come and see what it's like, what it's going to be like for me in a couple of years' time. I want to get that experience. We won't turn them down, because it's useful. And they clearly want to work. They're there because they're interested in the industry. You know what I mean? I think it sort of works on both levels there.
Nice. So we're wondering here. So we have something that Jules has asked. Okay. So Ed and Katie, do you want to give us both of you want to give us like some mistakes that you think students make, like frequently, or you've experienced yourself, with locations and finding locations and whatever. And then I would like to see if Lucas could give us a quick damn, there you go, here's a little cheeky tip to fix that kind of thing. Because obviously, Lucas, you've been in university, you've done all this before, so you'll, and you've made films. I don't know, it seems like you might be able to give us some extra advice, especially for our first and second year students who are just starting to get into this and will be making pretty big films in the next couple of years. So yeah, you guys go.
I think I don't know if it's a mistake. I've found a solution for it. I know that's kind of jumping it, but I feel like I need to say it because too many people do this. If you're filming outside in the cold at night, bring those hand warmers, the little packs where you grab them and they get really hot and they last for a while. My goodness, they are lifesavers. Put them in your shoes. Put them by your toes and have them in your hands. Have 4 per person at least, because otherwise you're going to have a very upset cast and a very upset crew. But I mean, I know that's not something for you, Lucas, to fix. I just feel like that needs to be said.
That's the wusser's way out. We don't need them on real.
No, it's very useful. I had that. You know when I said that I was sat next to a helicopter for ages, and I was really cold. They gave us they had so many of those little holding like bean sack things. I'm not sure what they're called. And oh my goodness, they made the whole experience so easy.
Yeah, they are good. Wrapping up warm. Yeah, we had a few of them. We were filming in Conway not too long ago, and we were filming on a boat, and yeah, we had a massive box of those things. I do agree with you there. They're good. They're good to have.
We had it's happened twice now, where we've not rushed into something but haven't considered all aspects of something before going ahead, and it's always come down to catching the train to get the equipment back to hand in before the hand in time. So we came down to North Yorkshire, last minute shoot. It was the First World War shoot in the woods. Wrapped everything up, got the equipment together, got to the train station, last train going out, and the train was at the station ready to pull away. And it's just a logistical, making sure your schedule's okay, but it's always something that twice now for me has been a problem on shoots, considering the whole aspect of not just the location, but getting to and from the location once you've finished the actual filming, once everything's wrapped, because there's a process of actually getting to there, doing the shoot and everything, and then leaving there and getting back to wherever. And yeah.
I don't know if you, Lucas, have do you run through some sort of a checklist when you're going to locations, or do you have some sort of like idea, like, do you know, okay, I know the nearest train station is X amount? I mean, obviously you guys have on your big shoots, you have trucks and stuff that you can drag stuff around in, but like, you know, do you sort of consider people's travel time? Do you consider, like, you know, all these sort of additional things?
It's all about time management, I suppose, like anything, just like planning the travel, I suppose, in the day. And usually, like, getting up super early is just the way to go, even though it's not like the nicest thing in the world. Like, usually, if you think about like the hours that you do on a TV show, you usually be doing, well, in locations anyway, you're doing like 11, 12-hour days. And even that, you push for time. You're on your feet all day, So think about, that's how I sort of did my productions when I was at uni. Was I kind of took that time management aspect from my work and I brought it into my own like little films and stuff, and it works. I got everyone up at like 4:30 in the morning, and yeah, they'll complain about it, but we got it done, and we weren't rushing about last minute, or it was. So I think just, yeah, time management. Just get up early. Don't think like, oh no, let's get up at 7 o'clock because we had it hard yesterday. No, just go for it. Like, get up early. Just do it for a full week, and it'll be mint and it'll be worth it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
What's your early?
Go on.
Sorry. What's your early? Are you talking like 4 or 5 in the morning? Is that what you normally?
For work, I usually get up at about 5 o'clock. Depends. Like, sometimes it just depends, because sometimes you're doing like night hours. Sometimes, I might be starting later some days, later in the day, and then going on till later at night. So, if you want to start, if you've got a night shoot that you want to do, then start at 11 o'clock in AM, and then go on till 11, or start at 1 p.m. and go on till 1 in the morning. Just I'd just recommend 12 hours, or 11 hours, really. Maybe not 12, 11 hours, and that's a good way to go, really.
So I was wondering, I've just been thinking about a mistake that students might make, and it's to do with when you're paying for locations, how do you know that what you're paying for is, you're not being, oversold what the location is, or like the people that you're talking to aren't just going to be like, oh well, yep, it's £1,000 for half a day or whatever, and you're just like, well, I can't really afford that. Like, how can we as students, could we, like, I don't know, sometimes it does feel cheeky to go, oh well, can we like not have it for this much, or can we have it for free, or whatever, can we do something else for you? Like, what sort of a way around that potentially?
That kind of thing comes just with experience, I think, more than anything. Because what I will say, I can give you a few pointers, so you sort of got an idea. So we were filming at a farm in where was it now? It was up in the hills somewhere, towards the Lake District sort of direction, or Peak District even. And we were filming there for, I think it was just the day. We filmed there since, but for the day, I had to go and give the invoice to the lady at this farm, and it was, I think, £3,500 for the day. And you're talking, a big crew, so that's actually not a bad price for a big crew. But obviously, I don't really know what the general going rate is for these locations. I know that the Star and Garter was around the same price for a few days of filming, so it all kind of depends. You've got to be savvy with it, don't be screwed over. And remember, you're a student production. You might not have the massive budget able to spend thousands of pounds on one location. So it's just kind of don't be afraid to say no, I suppose. And also try not to pay altogether. It can be done. You don't just make sure they know that you're respectful more than anything, and you're not going to damage the place. It's respect.
Nice. There you go. Respect. That's the key to today's lesson. I don't know if you want to do this at the end, Lucas, but Aarif has been said that you wanted to discuss some secret locations in Manchester. as little pointers. And I don't know if you wanted to do this like I don't, because we've sort of coming up to we're like 20 minutes from 12. So if you wanna give us a quick little rundown of the secret locations, maybe.
I mean, annoyingly, do you know what? I forgot to get the address for the place, but there is one place that I was gonna mention. If anyone listening or any of you guys ever need a sex dungeon, then there's one down the road. I think it's in where is it now? Oh, I'm gonna have to pull this up because it was an interesting one. Hang on. I don't. Oh.
Okay, I didn't really expect this when you said secret location. I thought it was going to be something like, oh, here's a really cool little alleyway or something.
It's definitely no. This is a proper secret location. This is one that not many people know about at all. Do you know what? I can't remember the name of the place, which is so annoying, and I can't look it up online now. But what I will say is there are hidden gems. All you got to do, Google search. If you want a sex dungeon and you think sex dungeons don't exist, they definitely do exist because I've been there. Honestly, if we could have pictures on this podcast, I'd put them up now. It's because it was. But do you know what? The owners of the place were lovely. And the thing is, I think we'd filmed there before. We'd filmed series 1 there at Brassic, so we were already known to the place and whatever. But yeah, it just goes to show, and that was my second week. So they brought me on Brassic 2 weeks before that. They were like, right, we've got this job for you. Do you want to come on? I was like, great, yes. I went and booked myself into a hotel in Manchester, ready to go day one. And then boom, they throw this at me. So can you go and have a look at this sex dungeon? But yeah, they're a nice couple though. They're a nice couple. We didn't end up using it for series 3, which is very annoying because I walked around the entire place taking pictures and didn't even end up using it. But
there you go.
And I guess locations, man. Like, I mean, I used to do a lot of urban exploring, which is how I got into locations to begin with.
Yes.
Geocaching is a good way to do that.
Say again.
Geocaching is a really good way to do that and to find little places. Geocaching?
I know geocaching.
I'll explain it. So basically, there is an app. It's called geocaching, and people have hidden all around the world, anywhere you go, in any village, any city. There are these little puzzles or hidden gems. People hide things, and you have to go and find them. And you might have instructions. Some of these geocaching spots are massive. I've seen ones that are TARDISes or little doors in trees, and you end up you find them on the app, and you end up discovering these amazing places. I know I've certainly done it in Manchester, and I'd recommend it. I mean, obviously you might have to do it when COVID's over. It kind of works like Pokemon Go, but
you find a real thing.
But you find real things, and it's real human interaction, sort of, kind of. You never know what you're going to find, and I think that's really interesting.
Sounds cool, that. Yeah, as I was saying though, there was before I got into locations, I did a lot of exploring, and that's kind of what I think impressed the unit manager that first took me on that first job. What I've always wanted to do, we haven't done it on any show I've worked on so far, but I'd love to use one of these abandoned places in a TV show. I think it'd be so cool because I don't know if you've heard of Denby Insane Asylum, is a really famous spot for abandoned explorers and stuff. And I don't think anything's ever been filmed there before. So I think,
really?
As far as I'm aware anyway, it might have been knocked down now. I don't know. But I mean, I'd love to film something there because that is a spot and a half. You've got, old kind of dirt roads that run up to it. It could be used as like a post-apocalyptic thing even. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned that place because I'm pretty sure I'm going there with a friend to film a music video for him. So there you go. It might be used for something.
Finally.
It does look,
Lucas, you can
it
go
does
and
look
join
creepy.
if you wanted to.
There used to be a cinema complex in oh god, I can't remember what the area is called now, but it's near me anyway, near where I live in sort of North Manchester, and it was all knocked down a couple of years, but before that it was this huge view cinema that was just totally empty, and it was like really creepy looking, when it's sort of, you know, empty
think
like that.
I think I remember that place. Isn't that down? There's a big abandoned cinema that I think they're going to be knocking down right down, like is it the A6 or something? Oh man, I think it's near Gorton, but that's another place where I thought that place looks brilliant. I don't know who owns it. I'm pretty sure Dean, the unit manager that I'm working with now on Brassic, he had something to do with that because we mentioned it when we were on Recce's. We drove past it and he's mentioned it. But yeah, I think they're going to be knocking that place down. But that would be a good one.
It's really interesting that, because I was just just as you were saying all of these sort of dangers that come with real life locations. Have you seen the way that The Mandalorian have been filming theirs? So all of their locations are these massive LED screens, and I think that is amazing. Absolutely fantastic, because you can create exactly what you. I mean, I'm sure there are so many logistical difficulties. I mean, it's expensive. It is, even though an artist can create what they want from their mind, you can't necessarily get it perfect. But yeah, it's crazy, because I think even though it's dangerous with using some sort of real life location like that, you know, sometimes it does sort of take the fun away. You know what I mean? In a way, it sort of takes the adventure away of trying to find those locations, and if you can just create it on this massive screen. But it is cool.
What's cool about that? Because I was thinking about the same thing the other day. I was thinking, that's brilliant. I remember I saw the documentary on it on YouTube, and I was like, wow. And then it hit me that I was on Batman earlier this year, the latest film that's not released yet, and that was obviously I was on that around like March time, just as the virus was starting to do its thing, and we got shut down on that because we had about 1,000 extras that was supposed to be going through Liverpool, and I don't know what the scene was, but we obviously had to cancel that. And then it hit me, like, with these big screens, I don't know if they'd be able to do something, because I was like, how on earth are they going to do this now? Because it was a really big scene. And they just I think they cut it in the end. They've just cut the scene, but the thing is, they could have done something with those screens.
I think certainly with that, unless the technology becomes incredibly cheap and you can like make the room massive, you wouldn't be able to do scenes with loads of extras like that. I don't think.
I was thinking
just VFX them in, couldn't you? Just
Yeah,
well, you could in a green screen. Yeah.
I mean, on a film like Batman, I was just thinking, surely there's a way of them doing a crowd scene without having a big crowd. Like, they'll have the technology by now. I don't know, because it would have been so cool. I was on that for like a month prepping this thing, and we were literally about 3 days away from shooting, and then it was absolutely horrendous, that. But yeah,
I guess in some ways, certainly, you know how people just use CGI for anything these days. That's something that you know, I don't have a problem with the use of CGI, but I found that certainly if you look at things like The Dark Crystal, the Age of Resistance that came out, amazing, can't believe it was cancelled, very annoyed. I think that some directors like going back to traditional filmmaking. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a sense of it creates a more realistic film. Certainly, in my opinion, I certainly from a student's point of view, and not being able to afford to make good CGI is, you know, you have to use more practical methods. But you know, I think people have their reasons, but it's good to have the option.
Practical is always best, and I agree.
Oh yeah. I
was going to say, does it not take away a little bit from, you know, your job even? You know, it takes away that additional aspect of looking for locations even.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that, because we have days where we're in the studio. I don't mind, because, you know, when we're filming in the studio, it means that I don't really have to do a whole lot, so it's quite nice, really, a bit of a break. But I mean, it does sort of, I think it would be useless for someone like me, a location assistant, or even a location manager, to go onto a job like Mando, you know, where it's all studio-based work, because you don't really, unless you've got little units that go out and film, you know, bits and bobs out and about, then it's not really necessary. So it's one of them. I think that's why I prefer like bare bones filmmaking, getting real extras, getting a police car and guns and all that, going all out with the crane and everything. Like, that's where my job really comes into it, and sort of that's where it gets exciting. So yeah.
I agree there.
There you go. I don't know if Ed and Katie, I don't know if Ed, you have any questions that you want to ask before we end, because we should start wrapping up. Oh, everyone, think of a film that has some exciting locations in it to recommend for people watching. It can be any film, it could be a short, it could be whatever. But yeah, if you have any questions you want to ask Lucas before we end, this is your time to do it.
Answering both of those, a film or a location that's had quite a few recent films. I don't know what you think about it. The Northern Quarter in Manchester.
Love it.
You just filmed The Crown there. They filmed, I can't remember what it was. I was walking through Manchester and all of a sudden there was this giant New York street scene.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Yeah. And what do you think of the Northern Quarter?
The Northern Quarter, from what I've heard, is expensive but worth it. I've only ever filmed there myself once for a show called World on Fire, which was for BBC. That was a period drama, but that was just an interior shot in the Fitzgerald on the corner. But in terms of filming down that street, I know they did Thingy down there as well, didn't they? What was it, that Spider-Man spin-off, Morbius, as well, where they turned it into New York as well. And Manchester, that is a good spot to turn into New York, I tell you that. Like, I mean, there's no better place. If you want to film in New York, then just film in Manchester. It's it's still expensive, especially to get the unit down there and parked up in the middle of the Northern Quarter. Still better than filming in New York. So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, love the Northern Quarter. It's good. That's nice. Katie?
Honestly, off the top of my head, when I'm asked a question like that, my brain goes really fuzzy and I can't think about it. In a specific location that other people could use, but I think for me, one of the most impressive set location things was Alien, because they built that entire thing, and I think that it looks amazing. But I mean, as far as locations are concerned, my heart will always go to Scotland, because it just has the most incredible castles, and because there are so many, some of them you can rent out quite cheaply. You can buy a lot of them quite cheap. I know, I was looking at castles in Scotland to buy, but I think England is the UK is so diverse in the types of locations that it has, for such a small set of islands. It's really impressive. I'm sorry I can't think of a particular film off the top of my head right now that has an amazing location. My brain just went fuzzy.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Are you gonna buy a castle?
It's because my parents, my mum's half Scottish, and she said that when she retires she wants to go to a really remote location in Scotland and buy a castle, and I was like, that is a fantastic idea, mother. But there are so many of them. It's excellent.
I want to recommend, if we're doing recommendation, either Doctor Who, or I'd like to recommend for the same reason, actually, Sex Education, because they were both filmed in Wales. That's right on our doorstep.
Wales is brilliant.
Wales is beautiful, and there's an amazing location in Wales, on a little island, North Wales, and it's called Paris Mountain, and it's in this incredible quarry with all these like crazy alien looking landscapes, and it just looks incredible. And I've went and filmed there, dragged a Vericam around on my own, and just like filmed some like nice like landscape shots of the place. And honestly, Paris Mountain, Paris, Paris, like that. Yeah, it's really cool. Have a look, check it out. It's got a cool, old machinery and stuff, and yeah, it's just awesome.
Wales is excellent for locations. Yeah, it really is.
Nice locations there, but it's an absolute pain in the ass to actually get people up there. Oh my! Like, there was a show called The Snow Spider, which was like a lower budget thing. It's for CBBC, and I was brought on as a unit manager for that, and it was for a short period, and there was this. It's all muddy, just mud everywhere. You can't get anywhere, and it was like we were filming on this slope of this hill, and we were right at the top, looking out across this amazing view. And I was like, "Oh, this is actually really nice. It's worth it getting up here." And then they were filming looking up the hill. They weren't even looking at the view. I was like, "This hill could be anywhere. What are we doing up here?" Like
Madness.
But I agree with that. It's nice. It's a nice place. Wales is beautiful locations. But
there you go.
Yeah,
most of Sex Education was filmed in Wales. All the panorama views that they have in that. Like I when I first saw it, I thought, damn, this looks like the US. But no, it's in Wales, South Wales. Weird, very weird. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any other closing comments you'd like to make before we end. In general,
I don't think so. I've had fun.
Instagram, follow my Instagram, the Loco Luco. A little plug there.
at the Local Luco.
The Loco.
I can't even remember my Instagram at. I'm not gonna lie, off the top of my head.
Also, for anyone listening, or any of you guys, if any of you are interested in work within locations, feel free to drop me an email. Obviously, go to my Instagram, and my email is like on my Instagram basically. And we're always looking for marshals on different shows. So basically, so it's a nice little entry level into locations. If you want to get into locations, then drop an email and just send a CV over, and I'll pass it over to the appropriate people and see if we can get you down onto Brassic, whatever.
There you go, and that is on screen now. This is his Instagram here. Amazing, and thank you very much, Lucas, for coming on.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that offer as well to extending out to students to get in touch with you and stuff. That's so nice. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it.
To help.
Yeah,
it's so nice. I've had such a lovely time talking to you guys.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Ed, as well. Good stuff. We should get you on other times whenever we can. If you guys are listening out there and you're like, oh, where do I find the other podcasts? Well, guess what? They're all on YouTube. They're all on Spotify. They're all on Apple Music. They're on Anchor FM. They're everywhere. You can't stop seeing them at Film Production Podcasts, at UOS Film Production. UOS_film production. Check them out. We've got millions. Well, not millions. We've got 20.
That would be impressive.
We've got 20 podcasts. I don't know. They're all really good though. There's some really fun episodes in there. Find something you like, and do you know what? If there isn't something you like, why not drop us an email? Send Lucy or Aarif or Jules an email, and they'll get it made. I promise. We're doing our best. Look, this was a crazy one. We got locations. Whoa, no one ever saw this coming. But look, we found a guy who does locations. Lucas, amazing. If you know people, get them on and come and talk to them on the podcast. Yeah, appreciate it. Love everyone. See you all very soon on the next time that we have a cool episode. Thank you, everyone. Bye.